Hi, my name is Minseok, and this is my life story. I was born in Seoul, the capital of South Korea, on the 19th of October, 2003. A year after I had been born, I had my birthday ceremony. This was an old traditional ceremonial party. I got to wear a hanbok, a traditional Korean clothing. The main event was 돌잡이, 돌 meaning birthday and 잡이 signifying the word grab. This was an activity where several items were placed on a tray, and whichever item the baby chose would be his lucky charm. For example, a ball of thread would mean a long and prosperous life, whilst grasping a bill would lead to a life full of wealth. I ended up grabbing the pencil, indicating that one would be good at studying, writing, or composing. Many of my relatives and family friends came to celebrate my first year, and although I may not remember it, it seemed extremely fun. The time I got to spend in Korea was short but sweet. Some very important memories were forged there. Like when I was little, I used to go play around in the playground all day, and when it was time to go home, I sat in the corner of the door outside of our apartment, whilst refusing to go inside. Apparently I loved cleaning the house when I was young. When my mom was cleaning, I used to take the vacuum or mop and do the work myself. My mom often tells me that my actions are the complete opposite now. I was also a social butterfly and very friendly, or so my mom tells me. Back in Korea, I used to go around and talk very casually to people I had just met, and here you can see me with two of the neighborhood girls, eating snacks. At the age of 4, I moved to England and stayed at an apartment in South Kensington, beside the Science Museum. I think this was a vital part of my life. I came to appreciate the wonders of science from that age. My favorite part of the museum were the rockets and the videos that showed them soaring through space. My dad and I used to feed snails that we kept in a plastic box. I think this was an important lesson for me in terms of responsibility, and I was also always fascinated by the color of our poop as it changed according to the color of our meal. Unfortunately, my first traumatic experience happened at this time too. On weekends, I would often go to Hyde Park with my parents, as I loved to feed the squirrels there. One day I was there playing ball with my dad, and suddenly a dog from the neighborhood came and bit the ball with its fangs and chased me. I don't think I can ever forget that experience. After that, I was scared of dogs, especially big ones. But of course, there were experiences that were just as good as they were bad. In our apartment, there was a foreign child just like me on the floor below us. This was one of the first friends that I made and could really connect with. I would often go down to their room and play with my newfound friend, but of course, my days with him were limited. I lost contact with him as I moved to Worcester Park and started attending Cheam Common Infant School. I made many friends at Cheam Common and met tons of Korean kids there. One of the moments I remember the most was the time when I was struggling with multiplication in year 2 with a girl in my class called Ruby. It was really frustrating because there was another Korean boy in my class who was several tiers above me. His name was David, and he was my first rival. It was probably one-sided, but he had several things that I didn't have. His intellect was one thing, but his individuality and reputation was overwhelming. Well, that's how I perceived him at least. David was a very dependable friend, and I couldn't have asked for a better rival. I sincerely regret not being able to keep in contact with him. In about 2011, I came to Norway and started going to international school Telemark, and I've been here ever since. Around this time I started playing the violin at Kulturskolen in Porsgrunn. It was difficult in the beginning, but it was fun. After a couple of years I started to play in the children's orchestra. It was of course a bit challenging, but I almost didn't practice at all. As the years passed, I had made steady progress with the violin, although I never really had a passion for it. Then I remember watching some videos on YouTube of a person playing the piano. He was performing some of my favorite songs, but it was completely different. The arrangement and the skill were out of this world. It was too amazing. It was like a one-man operated orchestra. It was different from the violin, almost completely. I loved the idea of the piano and begged my parents to buy me a digital one. After half a year of pleading, I finally got my first piano, a Yamaha Clavinova. I began playing and attending piano classes in September 2015. I remember starting with the basics. It was a bit boring, but it seemed that my experience with the violin helped me with the piano, as I flew past the beginning steps. I also noticed my note reading increased drastically as I started to play piano. I was falling in love with the instrument more and more. Most of my days were spent sat in front of the piano, searching up tutorials on YouTube and playing the songs that I loved. I actually started to upload some of these to Instagram, but now that I look back, they're extremely bad. In the beginning, it was actually very challenging to play as I had no real experience with the diversity of the piano. Then I found a passion for arranging and interpreting songs in my own way, mishmashing different variations from different people and adding a bit of my own. At the beginning of 8th grade, I started to become closer friends with a student at our school. His name was Asbjørn. I had heard that he played the piano. One day I heard him playing in the break time. It was a very melodious tune. When I asked him how long he had been playing for, he told me that he had started since 1st grade. It made me realize the gap of experience between me and Asbjørn. This actually motivated me even more, and this is when I really started to become passionate towards music. Asbjørn had an interesting taste of music, although the same could be said about mine. We often had little meets with his other classmates. One of them was Arthur. He played the guitar and had started playing at the same time I had started playing the piano. Later along the line, we decided to have a little concert at the mall in Porsgrunn for charity. It was extremely fun, and I got to play some of my favorite songs that I'd been working on at home. Later that summer, I went to Korea to visit my family. My mom had signed me up for this 1-week camp for overseas Korean teens. It was actually really fun. Almost everyone spoke perfect English, and there were Koreans who had been living all around the world. When I arrived, I was surprised to see so many people there. We were divided into groups corresponding to places we were assigned to. I was put on the Gimhae group. We went from Pyeongchang to Gimhae, then to the DMZ, and then back to Seoul. After we had been to Gimhae, we went to a farm and did all sorts of things. But what I remember the most is that there was a piano in the dining room. I remember sitting down and playing some tunes, and later that day I found out that another person from my group played the piano. We went back to the cafeteria and improvised a few songs. I was thinking to myself then that, wow, I never knew music had the power to bring people together like this. My experiences and joys from that camp are too big to tell, so here are some photos. After I had gotten home, I met up with the friends I had made from the camp. We went to the aquarium, then to a giant mall, sang at karaoke, and went to eat in a restaurant. We went from city to city, riding the metro. I think it was the most fun I had ever had in my entire life. My stomach ached from laughing, and my throat hurt from singing. I think my experiences from that summer invigorated me and made me more passionate in general. And when I got back to Norway, I was able to make compositions that I had no idea I had the capability of making. It had seemed like I had gotten better at connecting my emotions to music. Here's an extract from a piece that I wrote called My Joy.